All right. good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. Coach Kevin Sparks here, and we are going to go ahead and get started. First thing I want to go ahead and do is share my screen with you and point out a couple things. First thing I'd like to point out is we have a Facebook group that coincides with this meetup. It has exactly the same name. I want to be really rich, and I do not apologize for it. So if you go into your own Facebook profile, look where it says search Facebook, type in, I want to be really rich and I do not apologize for it. You'll be able to find us, ask to join us, and we'll be happy to have you. The other way you can find us is go directly to facebook.com/groups/, I want to be really rich as one word. And we'll be happy to have you. And inside the group, you'll find if we have a special announcements, we'll usually have it pinned to the top. And then what we've got here mostly is interaction, some questions and things. But what we have, hold on a second here, to show you is recordings of previous Zoom meetings. So for instance, let's say you're on today and you really like what was said. If you want to go back and review it, typically within 24 to 48 hours after the meeting, you will be able to find it in the Facebook group. Also, let's say, for instance, you're with us Monday and Tuesday, some reason you can't make it Wednesdays, and you decide that you can make it on Thursday and Friday. It's a way for you to go back and review something you might have missed. Okay, next thing I want to point out, we'll get rolling with this. Well, first of all, actually, let's see who is with us right now, if I need to go through this repetitively. Okay, everybody who is here currently has been with us before. So instead of explaining why we're going through what we're going through, we're just going to go ahead and hit it. We are currently in a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. We've been going through it for a few days now, several days. We're actually about a third of the way, page 100 out of 304, and we are on chapter 6. So if you'd like to go ahead and if you have your own copy, you can follow. I think every one of you has seen how to get one of these because you've been with us over the last few days. So I'm just going to go with this. If anybody shows up and they're a little bit later today, well, they stayed away too long. Chapter 6, relax and let your success mechanism work for you. Stress has recently become a popular word in our language. We speak of this as the age of stress. Worry, anxiety, insomnia, stomach ulcers have become accepted as a necessary part of the world in which we live. Yet I'm convinced that it does not have to be that way. We could relieve ourselves of a vast load of care, anxiety, and worry if we could but recognize the simple truth that our Creator made ample provisions for us to live successfully in this or any other age by providing us with a built-in creative mechanism. Excuse me. Our trouble is that we ignore the automatic creative mechanism and try to do everything and solve all our problems by conscious thought or forebrain thinking. The forebrain is comparable to the operator of an electronic brain or any other type of servo mechanism. It is with the forebrain that we think, I, and feel our sense of identity. It is with the forebrain that we exercise imagination or set goals. We use the forebrain to gather information, make observations, evaluate incoming sense data, form judgments. But the forebrain cannot create. It cannot do the job to be done any more than the operator of an electronic brain can do the work. It is the job of the forebrain to pose problems and to identify them. But by its very nature, it was never engineered to solve problems. Interesting way to think of it. You know, a thought that just came up for me in the day and age that we live in is, look, here's what we're able to do with the internet. We're able to search the internet. Okay, we're able to search. We're able to type into Google or a search engine what it is we're looking for. That's it. That's what we can do with the internet. We can search the internet, but we don't provide the answers that we find on the internet. We search the internet. And when we search the internet, different things come up, but we have to put in what we're searching for. And when the more clear we are about what we're searching for, the more likely we're going to find what we're searching for. Okay. But it's the internet that does the work. It's all the work that's been done by others than ourselves that put the information out there for us to find. But we don't create, we can create information, sure. So don't get me wrong there. But we don't, when we're looking for an answer to something we don't know, we don't create the answer. The answer already exists. We're putting it out there that we want to receive the answer. So if we have a question, there always has to be an answer. Don't be too careful. Yet that is precisely what modern man tries to do, solve all his problems by conscious thought. Jesus told us that a man cannot add 1 cubit to his stature by taking thought. Today, Dr. Weiner tells us that man cannot even perform such a simple operation as picking up a cigarette from a table by conscious thought or will. Because modern man does not depend, or does depend, almost entirely upon his forebrain he becomes too careful, too anxious, and too fearful of results. And the advice of Jesus to take no thought for the morrow, or of St. Paul to be careful in nothing, is regarded as impractical nonsense. Yet this is precisely the advice that William James, Dean of American Psychologists, gave us years ago. If we would but have listened to him, in his little essay, The Gospel of Relaxation, he said that modern man was too tense, too concerned for results, too anxious. This was in 1899. And that there was a better and easier way. If we wished our trains of ideation and volition to be copious and varied and effective, we must form the habit of freeing them from the inhibitive influence of reflection upon them, of egotistic preoccupation with their results. Such a habit, like other habits, can be formed. Prudence and duty and self-regard, emotions of ambition and emotions of anxiety have, of course, a needful part to play in our lives, but confine them as far as possible to the occasions when you are making your general resolutions and deciding on your plans of campaign, and keep them out of the details. When once a decision is reached and execution is the order of the day, dismiss absolutely all responsibility and care about the outcome. Let's repeat that. When once a decision is reached and execution is the order of the day, dismiss in execution, let your servo mechanism, your subconscious, do that. Dismiss absolutely all responsibility and care about the outcome. Excuse me. Unclamp, in a word, your intellectual and practical machinery. Let it run free, and the service it will do you will be twice as good. Later in his famous Gifford Lectures, James cited example after example of persons who had tried unsuccessfully for years to rid themselves of anxieties, worries, inferiorities, guilt feelings by making conscious efforts, only to find that success finally came when they gave up the struggle consciously and stopped trying to solve their problems by conscious thought. Under these circumstances, said James, the way to success is vouched for by innumerable authentic personal narrations, is by surrender, passivity, not activity, relaxation, not intentness, should be now the rule. Give up the feeling of responsibility. Let go your hold. Resign the care of your destiny to higher powers. be genuinely indifferent as to what becomes of it all. It is but giving your private convulsive self a rest and finding that a greater self is there. The results, slow or sudden, or great or small, of the combined optimism and expectancy, the regenerative phenomena which ensue with the abandonment of effort, remain firm facts of human nature. The secret of creative thinking and creative doing. Proof of the fact that we have been saying, of what we have been saying is true, can be seen in the experience of writers, inventors, and other creative thinkers. Invariably, they tell us that creative ideas are not consciously thought out by the forebrain thinking, but come automatically, spontaneously, and somewhat like a bolt out of the blue. When the conscious mind has let go of the problem and is engaged in thinking of something else, these creative ideas do not come willy-nilly without some preliminary conscious thought about the problem. All the evidence points to the conclusion that in order to receive an inspiration or a hunch, the person must first of all be intensely interested in solving a particular problem or securing a particular answer. He must think about it consciously, gather all the information he can on the subject, consider all the possible courses of action, and above all, he must have a burning desire to solve the problem. But after he's defined the problem, sees his imagination the desired end result. There's the order, okay, to decide what he wants and then see the end result. Decide what he wants, then see the end result. Decide what he wants and see the end result. Decide what he wants and see the end result. Decide what he wants and see the end result. But after he has defined the problem, sees in his imagination the desired end result, secured all the information and facts that he can, okay, not trying to force it, he's just doing what he can, then additional struggling, fretting, and worrying over it do not help, but seem to hinder the solution. Ferre, the famous French scientist, said that practically all his good ideas come to him when not actively engaged in work on a problem, and that most of the discoveries of his contemporaries were made when they were away from their workbench, so to speak. It is well known that when Thomas A. Edison was stymied by a problem, he would lie down and take a short nap. Charles Darwin, telling how an intuitional flash came to him suddenly after months of conscious thinking, took him stopping that, had failed to give him the ideas he needed for the origin of species, wrote, "I can remember the very spot in the road whilst in my carriage when to my joy the solution occurred to me." Lennox Riley Lohr, former president of the National Broadcasting Company, once wrote an article telling how ideas which had helped him in business came to him. Ideas, I find, come most readily when you're doing something that keeps the mind alert without putting too much strain upon it. Shaving, driving a car, sawing a plank, or fishing or hunting, for instance, or engaging with some friend in stimulating conversation. Some of my best ideas came from information picked up casually and entirely unrelated to my work. C.G. Suits, the chief of research at General Electric, said that nearly all the discoveries in research laboratories came as hunches during a period of relaxation, following a period of intense thinking and fact gathering. Bertrand Russell said, "I found, for example, that if I have to write upon some rather difficult topic, the best plan is to think about it with very great intensity, the greatest intensity of which I'm capable, for a few hours or days, and at the end of that time give orders, so to speak, that the work is to proceed underground. After some months, I return consciously to the topic and find that the work has been done. Before I had discovered this technique, I used to spend the intervening months worrying because I was making no progress. I arrived at the solution none the sooner for this worry, and the intervening months were wasted, whereas now I can devote them to other pursuits. You are a creative worker. The mistake we make is assuming that this process of unconscious cerebration is reserved for writers, inventors, and creative workers. Let me repeat that. The mistake we make is assuming that this process of unconscious cerebration is reserved for writers, inventors, and creative workers. We're all creative workers, whether we are housewives working in the kitchen, school teachers, students, salesmen, or businessmen. We all have the same success mechanism within us, and it will work in solving personal problems, running a business, or selling goods, just as it will in writing a story or inventing. Bertrand Russell recommended that the same method he used in his writing be employed by his readers in solving their mundane personal problems. Let me repeat that. Bertrand Russell recommended that the same method he used in his writing be employed by his readers in solving their mundane personal problems. Dr. J.B. Ryan of Duke University has said that he is inclined to think that what we will call genius is a process, a natural way in which the human mind works to solve any problem, but that we mistakenly apply the term genius only when the process is used to write a book or paint a picture. The secret of natural behavior and skill. The success mechanism within you can work in the same way to produce creative doing as it does to produce creative ideas. Skill in any performance, whether it be in sports, in playing the piano, in conversation, or in selling merchandise, consists not in painfully and consciously thinking out each action as it is performed, but in relaxing and letting the job do itself through you. Relaxing and letting the job do itself through you. Didn't say you do the job. Relaxing and letting the job do itself through you. Creative performance is spontaneous and natural, as opposed to self-conscious and studied. The most skilled pianist in the world could never play a simple composition if he tried to consciously think out just which finger should strike which key while he was playing. He has given conscious thought to this matter previously while learning and has practiced until his actions become automatic and habit-like. He was able to become a skilled performer only when he reached the point where he could cease conscious effort and turn the matter of playing over to the unconscious habit mechanism, which is part of the success mechanism. Don't jam your creative machinery. Conscious effort inhibits and jams the automatic creative mechanism. Let's repeat that. Conscious effort inhibits and jams the automatic creative mechanism. That makes sense to me. I'm thinking in my mind of a copy machine, and you're trying to shove 5 pages in where one copy should be coming out at a time, and there's too much paper, and so it's not going to shoot out any copies. The reason some people are self-conscious and awkward in social situations is simply that they are too consciously concerned, too anxious to do the right thing. They are painfully conscious of every move they make. Every action is thought out. Every word spoken is calculated for its effect. We speak of such persons as inhibited, and rightly so, but it would be more true were we to say that the person is not inhibited, but that the person has inhibited his own creative mechanism. If these people could let go, stop trying, not care, and give no thought to the matter of their behavior, they could act creatively, spontaneously, and be themselves. So 5 rules for freeing your creative machinery. Number 1, do your worrying before you place your bet, not after the wheels start turning. Okay. I am indebted to a business executive whose weakness was roulette. for the above expression, which worked like magic in helping him overcome worry and at the same time function more creatively and successfully. I happened to quote to him the advice of William James mentioned earlier, to the effect that emotions of anxiety have their place in planning and deciding upon a course of action, but that when once a decision is reached and execution is the order of the day, dismiss absolutely all responsibility and care about the outcome. Unclamp, in a word, your intellectual and practical machinery and let it run free. Several weeks later, he burst into my office as enthusiastic over his discovery as a schoolboy who had discovered his first love. It hit me all of a sudden, he said during a visit to Las Vegas. I'd been trying it and it works. What hit you and what works? I asked. The advice of William James. It didn't make too much of an impression when you told me. But while I was playing roulette, it came back to me. I noticed my number or any number of people who appeared not to worry at all before placing their bets. Apparently, the odds meant nothing to them. But once the wheels started turning, they froze up and began to worry whether their number would come up or not. How silly, I thought. If they want to worry or be concerned or figure odds, the time to do that is before the decision is made to place a bet. There is something you can do about it then. By thinking about it, you can figure out the best odds possible or decide not to take the risk at all. But after the bets are placed and the wheel starts turning, you might as well relax and enjoy it. Thinking about it is not going to do one bit of good and is wasted energy. Then I got to thinking that I myself had been doing exactly the same thing in my business and in my personal life. I often made decisions or embarked upon courses of action without adequate preparation, without considering all the risks involved, and the best possible alternative. But after I'd set the wheels in motion, so to speak, I continually worried over how it would come out, whether I'd done the right thing. I made a decision right then that in the future, I would do all my worrying, all my forebrain thinking before a decision was made, and that after making a decision and setting the wheels in motion, I would dismiss absolutely all care or responsibility about the outcome. Believe it or not, it works. I not only feel better, sleep better, and work better, but my business is running much smoother. I also discovered that the same principle works in 100 different little personal ways. For example, I used to worry and fume about having to go to the dentist and other unpleasant tasks. Then I said to myself, this is silly. You know the unpleasantness involved before you make the decision to go. If the unpleasantness is all that important to cause so much concern and not worth the worry involved, you can simply decide not to go. But if the decision is the trip is worth a little unpleasantness and a definite decision is made to go, then forget about it. Consider the risks before the wheels start turning. I used to worry the night before I had to make a speech at a board meeting. Then I said to myself, I am either going to make the speech or I am not. If the decision is to make it, then there's no need in considering not making it or trying to mentally run away from it. I have discovered that much nervousness and anxiety is caused by mentally trying to escape or run away from something that you have decided to go through with physically. If the decision is made to go through with it, not to run away physically, why mentally keep considering or hoping for escape? I used to detest social gatherings and go along only to please my wife or for business reasons. I went, but mentally I resisted it and was usually pretty grumpy and uncommunicative. Then I decided that if the decision was to go along physically, I might as well go along mentally and dismiss all the thought of resistance. Last night, I not only went to what I would have formerly called a stupid social gathering, but I was surprised to find myself thoroughly enjoying it. Number 2, form the habit of consciously responding to the present moment. Consciously practice the habit of taking no anxious thought for tomorrow. by giving all your attention to the present moment. Your creative mechanism cannot function or work tomorrow. It can only function in the present, today. Make long-range plans for tomorrow, but don't try to live in tomorrow or in the past. Creative living means responding and reacting to environment spontaneously. Your creative mechanism can respond appropriately and successfully to present environment only if you have your full attention upon present environment and give it information concerning what is happening now. Plan all you want for the future, prepare for it, but don't worry about how you will react tomorrow or even 5 minutes from now. Your creative mechanism will react appropriately in the now if you pay attention to what is happening now. It will do the same tomorrow. It cannot react successfully to what may happen, but to what is happening. Live in daylight-tight compartments. Dr. William Osler said that this simple habit, which could be formed like any other habit, was the sole secret of his happiness and success in life. Live life in day-tight compartments. He advised his students, look neither forward nor backward beyond a 24-hour cycle. Live today the best you can. By living today well, you do the most within your power to make tomorrow better. If you've not read his excellent little essay, A Way of Life, in which he describes the advantages of this habit, I urge you to do so. William James, commenting upon the same philosophy as a cardinal principle of both psychology and religion for curing worry, said, of St. Catherine of Genoa, it is said that she took cognizance of things only as they were presented to her in succession, moment by moment. To her holy soul, the divine moment was the present moment, and when the present moment was estimated in itself and in its relations, and when the duty that was involved in it was accomplished, it was permitted to pass away as if it had never been, and to give way to the phases and duties of the moment which came after. Alcoholics Anonymous uses the same principle when they say, don't try to stop drinking forever, merely say, I will not drink today. Stop, look, and listen. Practice becoming more consciously aware of your present environment. What sights, sounds, odors are present in your environment right now? What are you not conscious of? Consciously practice looking and listening. Become alert to feel the objects. How long since you have really felt the pavement beneath your feet as you walk? The American Indian and the early pioneers had to be alert to the sights and sounds and feels of their environment in order to survive. So does modern man, but for a different reason. Not because of physical dangers, but because of the dangers of nervous disorders, which come from confused thinking, from failure to live creatively and spontaneously, and to respond appropriately to the environment. This becoming more aware of what is happening now and attempting to respond only to what is happening now has almost magical results in relieving the jitters. The next time you feel yourself tensing up, becoming jittery and nervous, pull yourself up short and say, what is there here and now that I should respond to, that I can do something about? A great deal of nervousness is caused from unwittingly trying to do something that cannot be done here or now. You are geared for action and for doing, which cannot take place. Keep constantly in mind that the job of your creative mechanism is to respond appropriately to present environment, here and now. Many times, if we do not stop and think about this, we continue to react automatically to some past environment. We do not react to the present moment and the present situation, but to some similar event out of the past. In short, we do not react to reality, but to a fiction. Full recognition of this and realization of what you're doing can frequently bring about an amazingly quick cure. Don't fight straw men out of the past. For example, a patient of mine became jittery and anxious in business meetings, theaters, church, or in any formal gathering. Groups of people were the common denominator. Without realizing it, he was attempting to react to some environment out of his past where groups of people were a significant factor. He remembered that when a child in elementary school, he had wet his pants, and a cruel teacher had called him up in front of the class and humiliated him. He reacted with feelings of humiliation and shame. Now, one factor in the situation, groups of people, was reacted to as if it were the entire past situation. When he was able to see that he was acting as if he were a 10-year-old schoolboy, as if every gathering was an elementary school class, and as if every group leader was the cruel school teacher, his anxiety disappeared. Other typical examples are the woman who responds to the man she meets as if he were some individual man out of her past. The man who reacts to every person in authority as if he were some individual authority out of the past. Let's see. Try to do one thing. I'm going to keep going with this a little bit before we hop into questions and comments. Try to do only one thing at a time. Another cause of confusion and the resulting feelings of nervousness, hurry, and anxiety is the absurd habit of trying to do many things at one time. The student studies and watches TV simultaneously. The businessman, instead of concentrating upon and only trying to do the one letter that he is presently dictating, is thinking in the back of his mind of all the things he should accomplish today, or perhaps this week, and unconsciously trying mentally to accomplish them all at once. The habit is particularly insidious because it's seldom recognized for what it is. When we feel jittery or worried or anxious in thinking of the great amount of work that lies before us, the jittery feelings are not caused by the work, but by our mental attitude, which is, I ought to be able to do this all at once. We become nervous because we are trying to do the impossible, and thereby making futility and frustration inevitable. The truth is, we can only do one thing at a time. Realizing this, fully convincing ourselves of this simple and obvious truth, enables us to mentally stop trying to do the things that lie next, and to concentrate all our awareness, all our responsiveness on this one thing we're doing now. When we work with this attitude, we are relaxed. We are free from the feelings of hurry and anxiety, and we're able to concentrate and think at our best. All right. We will pick up there tomorrow. And we have a few more people with us. Awesome. I don't know when you joined us, Stephanie, but as we were going through this, I'm like, oh, I hope Stephanie joins us today, because this is pretty good stuff for what you're working with.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any comments or questions for me? You guys all know the drill. I don't need to repeat it.
Hey, Kevin. I just want to quote on this book. I know we hit in pages 103 about 107. Those were very important things. I mean, I don't know what to say. It's just this book hits on some things that I think I've been weak on, but I have been be able to come out of some of these stages, even starting the books that we read, and everything is just falling in place. I just say this is a really good book, and I'm getting a lot from it. It may be one of my favorites that we done went through. I think we did everything in progression. So once you start understanding this, everything to me is coming very clear. Because I'm in the middle stage now. Now, I remember telling you about the business and the VA. You know, I guess the other lady quit. I tried a different guy. He just wasn't working out. And right now, somehow, I guess everything that wasn't for me moved out my way. And now the VA that I have now, she is the greatest. Somehow I ran into the team leader. Yeah, I ran into the team leader. And she's, even though she's from the Philippines, she may be a major in English. And I said, how did I get her? You know, that's what I'm sitting here thinking. But yeah, everything's working out so good. And now I'm looking for a property acquisition person so they can go out to appointments. Because I work full time anyway. So yeah, everything is working. But this book actually that we went through hit a huge point for me. You know, once I started getting these calls and people say I'm interested, so next thing you know, I start getting nervous. And now look at the book and they say, that's not what you do. You're supposed to stay relaxed. So I'm saying this book is really helping me where I'm progressing to go into business and life. So I just want to say a shout out. That's a very good book, and I'm very much enjoying this. And
That's awesome.
I say I appreciate you and thank you for being here with us. You can't take nothing for granted. This is very helpful.
Well, thank you for the kind words, Everett, and I'm glad that it's helping produce results for you. And actually, what's producing the results is your willingness to accept what's being taught. Because we could just read these books, you could just listen to what I say. You know, you could be there in the audience, so to speak. But if you don't do anything with what's being said or taught or shared, you're not going to get the results. So good for you for allowing yourself to maybe suspend your disbelief long enough to put into practice what you're learning so that you actually get results that prove to you that what we're talking about works. Because once you get that, you start to understand that it really isn't your effort. And when you realize that your job, think of this, every one of you, I know Everett's thinking like a business person. And it's okay if you don't all think like one yet, but at least think of yourself as the CEO of your household. You know, the CEO can't do everything in their business. Think about Amazon for a minute, okay? Think about Jeff Bezos. Now, we know he's wealthy, all right? That's the part we like to, you know, that's the cool part to focus on. He started the company, he's done all this, he's wealthy. But Amazon would not exist today and do what it does with Jeff Bezos by himself. Matter of fact, Amazon is so much bigger. I mean, all Jeff Bezos could probably do in a day is hop in a truck and deliver 5 packages, if if that's what he needed to do. So think of that. We're trying to function. We're trying to run Amazon, and we're trying to actually play the part of every employee in Amazon when we don't let God and the universe do their work. No wonder we can't do it. There's too much, and we're not good at all of it. And even the things that we're good at, somebody's probably even better. What we get to do is choose the direction that Amazon goes. So our Amazon, we get to choose what direction we're going to go with our Amazon by deciding what kind of life we want to live and putting it out there as the right emotion, as the right thoughts, the right feelings, impressing it on formless substance and God, and then formless substance and God gets to work. They're the entire employed staff of Amazon.com. If you had every single person working for Amazon.com working for you, and you had access for them to go do the work, wouldn't you enjoy growing your business more from a mental standpoint and letting them go do the jobs that they're good at? Plus, the cool part about it is everybody that participates in you receiving what you want is a benefit for them too. Every time somebody helps you get what you want in this process, it's not because you made anybody do it. It's because you're in a certain vibration and God and the universe lined it up, and these people decided to cooperate with you because they're going to benefit as a result too. They're not strictly thinking of it that way, but that's how it works. So quit trying. I couldn't even imagine trying to do every job at Amazon.com in a single day that everybody does. There's no way. And I would never want to. However, I do love the idea of deciding where the company goes, and what I end up out of it is return. And as far as the employees that participate, they get to decide what they want out of it. And when they're ready to move on, that's totally cool. They will have picked up things, hopefully, from our environment that will make their lives better, and somebody else will come fill the void. And kind of like in your spot, Everett, not only do you get somebody to fill the void, but you got somebody that can actually lead the growth. So I don't know if my analogy made much sense to any of you, but that's where I started going for an analogy. of what this is like. It's too big for us to do on our own, but we're always trying to.
Yeah, if I can say, I would say absolutely. And that's why I began thinking I can do everything myself. After doing the VA, if you really want to go for higher success, you can improve other people's life and you can improve yours. I'm going to hire other people on things that maybe I might not be strong at, or yeah, like you're saying, that's the true way I feel to grow a business and get them good people and know how to hire good people. But yeah, absolutely, I'm on very much on point with what you're saying. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, you're welcome. Stephanie, you look like you had a comment or something.
I was just going to say to your comment about using Amazon as an example, I thought that was excellent because visually I started thinking about it. And I know last night you were talking to Ben about it a little bit, but this use or this imaging that you gave of Amazon for me was much more impactful. So I really liked that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, with what you deal with, right? I mean, you've been working with the government for so many years. The government's never one person. I'm not saying it's the most efficient organization, but you can totally understand where it's like, would I really want to do everybody's job in the United States government?
Oh my goodness, no.
Right? Could I ever succeed at doing them all? Of course not. Right? But you get to pick the vision of your own country. Right?
I do have a question towards the end there, and the person that was at the casino gambling. I still kind of there's some resistance going on.
Okay.
And I know that we're supposed to impress our image on the formless, and then let go, right? To let it work. Yeah. But if we're impressing that image every day in an effort, then aren't we not letting it go?
Well, okay, great question. And you know what? So I heard that asked recently too, when I was listening to Bob coaching some people, and that's a different thing. If you're in doubt and worry and fear, what it does is if you do it in gratitude, what did we learn from Science of Getting Rich about gratitude so far? I mean, I know that at this point, Stephanie, you probably read the gratitude thing or heard it multiple times.
It's huge. I just read it again last night.
Yeah. So what is the purpose of gratitude? What does gratitude increase?
Faith.
Bam. So the way to visualize it is not in asking any longer for it, because you already have it. You already accepted it as yours, and you're just repeating the appreciation and creating that feeling and creating a stronger connection with God and the universe in a positive way, which is your faith just grows and grows and grows and grows. So so when the outside world hits on you to try and tell you differently, your faith just keeps strengthening, so eventually it becomes unbreakable for you receiving that thing that you put out there. So it's not the same as the first time asking. There's this first, like talked about, you gather the information, you make the decision. Once the decision's made, you don't vacillate on it. You go, you put it out there, you ask God. And then you're visualizing, and when it talks about in the Science of Getting Rich, use most of your free time, leisure time to contemplate your vision. That means to put it out there and thankful thanksgiving that it's already yours. And it becomes more vivid, more clear, more faith. All of a sudden, think of it as a black and white movie that's turning into full, 4K HD color in front of you.
Yeah, I get it. I still feel the resistance because I feel like you're impressing. I know I get what you're saying. I get the faith part, and I understand conceptually what you're saying. But there seems to be something that I'm maybe not articulating right, because I feel like, because I think I've read in several of the books that we've covered in this group, it's also been the fact that you don't lament over something, and I guess that's not the right word either, because we're not lamenting when we're putting a positive image out there. But I also believe that when I think about things too much, even if it's in a positive vibration, I'm not just letting the universe do its thing.
Okay, perfect, perfect. What you just said. If it's in a positive vibration, if you're not feeling positive about what you're doing, stop doing it. For now, anyhow, because right, the word you said and the vibration you were putting out while saying the word did not coincide with each other. You're like, I think I'm out there in positive vibration, but it doesn't feel right. So that's it isn't a positive vibration.
Okay.
That's not what's emitting at that point in time. That doesn't mean I can think, okay, this is kind of funny, maybe. I can think of my favorite ice cream and think about it, get excited, maybe it'll show up, maybe I'll just go out and buy it, whatever, but now I got it. But let's say I bought a lot of it. Like, I could never eat it in one sitting. I bought like 4 or 5 times as much as I could eat in one sitting. Okay. But I go buy it and now I have it and I eat it. Well, if somebody 10 minutes later talks to me about wanting to eat that ice cream, I'm not going to feel positive about it at all.
Right.
The same thing that I thought, that brought me some joy, that I got enjoyment out of, that I felt good about, the same thing now I can think about it and all of a sudden I'll get nauseous, right? It's like, well, it's still the same thing. It's still my favorite ice cream.
Yeah.
Right. But if it's not feeling ease and comfort when you're visualizing, then what I recommend you do for now is just think of anything that feels good for 5, 10, 15 minutes.
Okay. Something came to mind when you were talking about this as an example to make sure we're on the same page. So I think you're talking about like economics and the law of diminishing return, but I'm thinking about something a little bit different from that. So for example, you're a parent, your child asks you for, an iPad or something.
Uh-huh.
They make the request. You say, okay, I will get it when I get to it. It might be next week. Now the child then tells you every day, thank you so much for getting me that iPad. Thank you. After a while, you're going to get irritated with your kid because you already told your kid, I'm going to get it for you. Right?
Not if you're God.
No? Okay.
Not if you're God, because he knows what you're doing. You're using it to build your own faith. You're actually not trying to ask him any longer. Okay. You only needed to ask him the one time.
Okay. Thank you. I think that clears things up for me.
Yeah. You're not, that's different. I have daddy, mommy. But it's, hey, thank you so much. It's almost like the kid's like, I know the order got placed. I know, I don't know exactly the day it's coming, but let's go back to Amazon again. I mean, I know we're all used to Prime and everything showing up 5 minutes after we order it, but sometimes there are sellers on Amazon that they give you a date range, right? It's not going to show up today. Let's say it's out of stock for the moment, and it gives a date range of when it's going to come. And the kid's sitting next to God, and God's in front of the computer, but God has the computer and the credit card. The kid doesn't. Okay, so the kid's sitting there, and the kid can't have a computer or credit card. They don't get to use it. This is God's credit card and computer connected to his Amazon of the universe to deliver what you want. So the kid comes up and sits next to God, and they have a conversation, and God's like, hey, how are things going? Yeah. Is there anything, I'm going to place an order right now. Is there anything that you would like? And he goes, oh my gosh, I would really love whatever it is that the child wants to have. And God goes, okay, do you really want that? Yeah, I really, really want that. Okay, cool. So the kid watches God place the order, and up comes a screen, and it says, okay, it'll be delivered, but it says delivery date not known yet. But God hits the order button. The kid watches God put in the credit card number, watches him hit send, watches it says your item is on order. It will be delivered to you as soon as it's in stock.
Okay, I gotcha.
Then the kid is like, thank you so much. And then the kid will probably the next day be like, hey, do you know if it's coming, God? God's like, look, I'll tell you what, I'll let you know as soon as they give me an update. And the kid's like, okay, thank you, thank you. Kid comes back maybe the next day, and God goes, hey, look, no update yet, but the order's placed, don't worry. And the kid's like, no, I just wanted to come and thank you for doing it. And all the kid does is come back each day, give God a big hug and say, I'm so excited. Instead of saying, when's it coming, when's it coming, when's it coming? The kid's going, I'm so excited. This is so cool. I'm really looking forward to. And if the kid comes to God that way every single day, God actually feels pretty good about being God, right? Hopefully he already does, right? Doesn't need that from us. But what I'm getting at is that's a whole different attitude. And all it's doing is making the kid feel better. It's not changing the fact that the order got placed or anything like that. But the kid's not worrying about it showing up or not. The kid's just getting more excited about using the thing that they ordered. And because in their imagination, they've already been using it for a while.
Got it. That question's been bugging me here and there, and I just haven't had a chance to where it's come up and it's been convenient to ask. So that really helps me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Absolutely. All right. Any other questions or comments? Going once. Going twice. All righty. Well, I will let you guys go for today. I will be back this afternoon in about an hour-ish, whatever time it is now. A little over an hour. I will be there for the next class, if those of you who want to attend. And thanks for coming today, and look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.
Thanks, Kevin.
You are all very welcome.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.